Welcome to the Weekly Rushes, a rushed rush through the weekly rushes. So the first story today is Cillian Murphy. It's been announced that he's been cast in the new Christopher Nolan film, which is about the atomic bomb scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer. So, you know, Oppenheimer, who kind of created the monster that he was aware could destroy the planet. So a bit of kind of, just a little bit of internal angst and jeopardy there in this character. So I think Cillian Murphy is a good choice. They look very like each other too. And Cillian's obviously worked with Christopher Nolan on other films. I think he was in Dunkirk and what have you. But the biggest news really about this is that Christopher Nolan has moved on from Warner Brothers, which he's made nearly all of his films for, and he's now with Universal. And that's a big thing. And what do you think? I wonder whether that's because Tenet was released during the pandemic. It was released simultaneously, wasn't it? I think it had a bit of a theatrical release, but then it very quickly went to HBO Max or HBO. Next up, if you're a fan of the Popcorn Junkies Instagram account, you'll have seen that Timothee Chalamet. Don't mention him to Maddie and Kiki. But Timothee Chalamet posted a first look image of him as Willy Wonka in the new movie called Wonka. It's directed by the Paddington director Paul King, and I'm guessing they're probably going to hope that the Midas touch that he had for Paddington will carry through to this. I mean, obviously there's always music in Willy Wonka. There's music in the Johnny Depp version. There was music in the original Gene Wilder version. But I don't know how I feel about Timothee Chalamet singing songs. But then again, how did I feel about Johnny Depp? Though you did have precedent with Sweeney Todd. He's there in his beautiful hat and his sort of velvet suede kind of jacket. He looks the part. And he posted a second image of his hand on a staff or a walking stick, if you like. You know how Gene Wilder had the walking stick that he twizzled around. The cast supporting him is amazing. Rowan Atkinson, Olivia Colman, Sally Hawkins, Tom Davis, Matt Lucas and Jim Carter are in there too. So, you know, a little bit excited about that. It's just wrapped, and they posted an image, the producers, of Timothée Chalamet walking off in silhouette into the distance. It's a wrap. So I'm an enormous fan of films about filmmaking. I love putting on a show, whether it be something like Hail Caesar, whether it be a film like Mank. It doesn't matter how good or bad the film is. If it's about the process of making films, I love it. So it's not quite in the same ballpark as that, but Walt Disney are making a film about Walt Disney and the way in which he created Disneyland. I mean, I hope there's enough of a kind of dramatic story there. I mean, I'm sure there will be. David Gordon Green, this is curious. David Gordon Green directed Halloween Kills, and he's directing this film, which is yet to get a title. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if it's a bit too in-house. I don't know if it's a bit too self-indulgent. Now, if you haven't seen The Father, we did a review on the channel elsewhere. It's a film adaptation of a play by Florian Zeller, written by Florian Zeller, about a father who's struggling with Alzheimer's and how he gets progressively worse and how the family and he deal with this, with all of the appropriate kind of distress and upset and confusion that comes out of that. As a film, it was, as we said in our review, as a film, it was solid, it was okay, nothing flashy, but at the centre of it was the most remarkable performance by Anthony Hopkins, for which, of course, he won the Oscar for Best Actor. Now, in Theatreland, because it was a play, The Father came, and then a sort of sequel to it in Theatreland came called The Son. And it follows Peter, who's played by Hugh Jackman, which is a brilliant addition to the cast, and his partner, Beth, played by Vanessa Kirby. Pieces of a Woman. I don't know if you saw that recently on Netflix. There's also Laura Dern in there, which is fantastic. And Zeller, who is the writer of the original play and is the director of the movie, has yet to reveal what Hopkins' role is in it. But he says, after our journey on The Father, I couldn't make another film without Anthony. He was the first one to read the Son's script, as one of its characters was written especially for him. So he's not necessarily playing the same character, but it'll be intriguing to see Anthony Hopkins yet again in the later years of his life, absolutely knocking it out the ballpark. I urge you to watch The Father. It's a tough watch, and I wonder if The Son will be as powerful. It'd be interesting if it is. Now, I don't know about you, but we are enormous Guardians of the Galaxy fans in this household, to the point that I think, personally, that while Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi was the sort of space opera of my generation, I think Guardians of the Galaxy will occupy that space for Maddie's generation and slightly younger and slightly older. Well, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is now in pre-production. Everything's getting ready to shoot after a period where we thought it may never happen because James Gunn was essentially temporarily let go from Disney, went over to DC. made The Suicide Squad. If you haven't seen that, it's a brilliant movie. And now he's bouncing back to make Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And the big news this week is that Will Poulter from Midsommar, from We're the Millers, he's a brilliant young actor, but he's been signed on to play a character called Adam Warlock, who apparently, he's a comic character that was introduced in the late 60s, early 70s. But he was created as a character in a special cocoon to be effectively the most perfect human there is. And I think when you think about Guardians of the Galaxy, they're going to have some real fun with that character. The thing I love is none of the characters are taken seriously. None of the characters take each other seriously. So I think the addition of Will Poulter has got people very excited about the new film coming. And I think we're going to get lots and lots of sort of little teases and little leaks about who's starring, who's going to be in it, and all that kind of stuff. So, some more Anthony Hopkins news. Anthony Hopkins is joining Jeremy Strong, and Jeremy Strong obviously is the eldest son of Brian Cox's character in Succession. He's a fabulous actor. So he's coming off the back of winning an Emmy for Succession. Anthony Hopkins is coming off the back of winning an Oscar, and they're coming together on a new movie alongside Anne Hathaway, a new movie by James Gray called Armageddon Time. Makes you think it could be sci-fi, and you wouldn't be wrong for possibly thinking that, because James Gray made Ad Astra starring Brad Pitt. I thought that was an underrated film from last year, 2 years ago. Do check it out. It's a kind of thoughtful sci-fi film about a guy who goes out to space, and Tommy Lee Jones is in there. I don't want to give it away, but I quite liked it. There was a lot to like about it, but this film is quite at the opposite end of the genre spectrum. This is a coming-of-age film, and it's actually about the director's life in a pre-Reagan America. Ronald Reagan, the president, set in Queens. That's as much as we know. There's a big trend at the moment for filmmakers making films about themselves. I hope this isn't sort of narcissistic syndrome going on. Spielberg is making a film about his childhood and growing up, and how he kind of discovered film with Super 8 films and his first ever short film, Amblin. And this promises to be, a period piece. Anyone here a fan of Steve Buscemi? Steve Buscemi from films like The Big Lebowski, Fargo, Boardwalk Empire. Always takes sort of small parts, whacking in just strong, idiosyncratic, curious little parts. Well, did you know Steve Buscemi is also a director? And many years ago I spent a day with Steve Buscemi and Chloe Sevigny, who was in his movie Trees Lounge. A nicer guy you couldn't have met. I know I say that a lot, but he really was down to earth, very gentle, very thoughtful. Well, he's directing a new film, and it's called The Listener, and it sounds intriguing. It stars Tessa Thompson, and it's just got one actor in it, just her. So it's a one-role film. And it tells the story of a woman called Beth, who's a helpline volunteer who's part of the small army that gets on the phone every night across America, fielding calls from all kinds of people feeling lonely, broken, hopeless, and worried. And all the way through it, we apparently stay with her, listening, comforting, connecting. And I think this sounds like a really beautiful and moving and clever idea. Obviously, we've got Jake Gyllenhaal, sorry I keep mentioning him, who's in this recent drama, isn't he, on Netflix, where he plays essentially a 911 caller, call handler, and he deals with, and you often get these sort of films or documentaries where they deal with the sort of dramatic and fire and ambulance and murder and all that. But actually the idea of someone essentially sitting at the end of a phone in a sort of a good Samaritan role, I think this is going to be an interesting film, and I think Steve Buscemi is obviously the right guy to do it, because he's very gentle. That was what I was left with when I met him. He's a very gentle man, and Trees Lounge is well worth checking out, starring, as I say, Chloe Sevigny. Now, a couple of you guys on some of our other films on the channel have been talking about the appropriateness or not of the BBC making a Jimmy Savile drama. It was much publicised that Steve Coogan has been cast to play him. I mean, it's going to be a bold and brave actor that's going to take on that role, because, if you become synonymous with it, like he has with Alan Partridge, it's going to be a difficult one to shake. And it's that weird thing of, if you're really good at playing a role, you have to inhabit to some degree the psychological makeup and the inclinations of the character that you play. Let's hope he doesn't go method on it. But I wanted to share with you, or ask you, is it appropriate? Is it appropriate that they're making a film about Jimmy Savile? The BBC drama director says, "Our primary intention is to give voice to the victims and tell stories with the utmost respect." Documentaries can take you so far, but drama can take you further. But I suppose, you know, the idea that there is still a public interest in sort of going through his story, it's not often that I ask the question, is there a need to go any deeper into his story? Is there? Or is this perhaps, and I worry this could be, the BBC trying to really overstep the mark in making good a lot of the oversights and mistakes they made in the Jimmy Savile case? Because, of course, the BBC came out of this looking awful. And I wonder whether this drama is their opportunity to really put the boot into themselves to somehow kind of regenerate a sense of trustworthiness with the public. What do you think? I personally don't think it's right to make a drama, and it's not about censorship or anything, but I think this is such a specifically unique case. I feel uncomfortable about it. And then, of course, you've got all of the victims that are still out there for whom this is going to kick up and trigger all sorts of memories, isn't it? This is another casting story. Michael Shannon is one of my favourite actors. He, for me, I know a lot of people loved the film The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro. Michael Shannon, I thought, was absolutely sensational as essentially the villain in the piece. He's also to be seen at the moment in 9 Perfect Strangers, where I think he's one of the strongest actual performers in there. But he's just been cast to play rather wonderfully, because I've always wondered, why hasn't a really good film been done about this? The US Senator Joseph McCarthy, i.e., you know, the McCarthy trials, where there was a real purge in Hollywood and in other industries of anyone who was a communist sympathiser. So McCarthy, simply called McCarthy, will look into what drove this senator, he used to be a Marine, I think, down this sort of strange route of public trial and blacklisting. I mean, so many people in Hollywood were blacklisted, didn't work again. You know, it ruined lives, it ruined careers. Playing his wife, interestingly, is Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, and I think she needs to find the right position in a new project that gives her a bit more grit and grist and something to work with. I don't think she's had sort of substantive roles since Game of Thrones. If there's anyone to play John McCarthy, it's got to be Michael Shannon. This is a curious one. The world of social media meeting the potential world of cinema. Are you a Robin Williams fan? Get this. There's a YouTuber called Jamie Costa who uploaded a film of him, he's an impressionist, Jamie Costa, and he posted something in which he was sort of impersonating, essentially, Robin Williams at the point that he was told that his friend, John Belushi, the comedian and actor, had died, and Robin Williams had been partying with John Belushi the night before he died. But this film that Jamie Costa's uploaded, it's had over 2 million views. It's probably had over 3-4 million views now. Was part of an attempt to suggest that he should be cast to play Robin Williams, and it does feel like it's only a matter of time when we're probably on that moment where a Robin Williams biopic is in the making or is about to be made. So I would suggest go and watch Jamie Costa's Robin test footage scene, because it's compelling, and he does look like him. He feels like him. You know, he was a broken vessel behind the image of stand-up comedy and what have you, Robin Williams. I mean, he was a genius. He was an absolute genius. Who do you think would make a great Robin Williams in a biopic? So something else we want to do each week in our rushed rush through the weekly rushes, try saying that, it's really hard. Why have I given myself some stupid strapline that I can't say? Is the new releases of the week. And of course, this week, today, Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, has been released, starring Woody Harrelson and Tom Hardy, obviously. This is a follow-up to the original film, which we really liked. And yet, at the end of Venom, the first film, we were left with a distinct sense that really it hadn't got going. It was still in first, maybe second gear, but it needed to move up to third. And from some of the early reviews I've seen about Venom 2, we haven't seen it yet, they say it's a similar sort of thing. It's very short, it's very punchy. I love the kind of split personality between Tom Hardy and his alter ego and the symbiote, monster that's in him. It's dark comedy superhero, if you fancy that kind of thing. Halloween Kills was released this week. Some of the early reviews haven't been particularly favourable. It's, I think these kind of horror films which riff on a really well-known and well-established franchise, they have to be a bit camp. They have to be a bit tongue-in-cheek, and I'm hoping that this one is. We will be seeing it, we will be reviewing it. It's an 18, so it's going to be high on gore. I have a frustration and a worry that with slasher films, once you've slashed a few people, the threat becomes a bit similar, because it just becomes more inventive ways of slashing. That's a slasher movie. So you've got superhero, kind of, well, not necessarily superhero, anti-hero. You've got horror. And the other film is The Last Duel, which is Ridley Scott's period piece starring Matt Damon, Ben Affleck and Jodie Comer and Adam Driver, of course. And it sort of pivots around the idea that, Jodie Comer's character is accused of sleeping with someone else. It's all about loyalty, it's all about betrayal, it's all about medieval sword play and all that kind of stuff. And bizarrely, it's written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. What a talented duo, aren't they? One thing you will be guaranteed with that film is some slick camera work. And from the trailer, I think Jodie Comer looks sensational in that. So there you have it, guys. That's your rushed rush through the weekly rushes. Please leave your comments below on any of the stories, any of your thoughts, any more details, what have you. Bye!
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.